then what I want to talk to you about is the assessment plan, but why it's important that we align budget to our assessment plan, because that budget is going to help you bring to fruition many of the goals that you set down strategically for your program or your department. So I'm going to skip ahead through some of these slides and get to the budget portion. Okay.
Yep.
So what happens is when we talk about our assessment plan, really what we're talking about is writing down or creating the vision for how our program or our department will, how we will walk out the strategic plan that the university has within our context. And so we create, usually your program or your department creates goals that are aligned with the university's strategic plan. And budget is a very, very key component of that, because what the budget allows you to do is to have the money for the areas to be able to execute different things within the context of your program, right? So your budget is usually there to support your vision and help you achieve the vision that you have outlined for your program. And so there are three very, very important keys that we're going to go over. And even though I'm going through these slides, feel free at any time to ask questions, to stop me and ask a question. And I'm also going to give you more detail than this on the slides. Okay, so the keys to align your budget with your assessment. Number one, we want to make sure that we are first aligning our goals, departmental or program goals, with the strategic plan. For example, what that looks like is, let's say that one of the strategic goals of the university is to nurture human capital. Okay, well, what that looks like for your department may be, the goal for your department that aligns with that may be something along the lines of improving the interview skills of the students who come through career development. Okay, that would be a goal that aligns with the strategic plan. So in that, you said, well, Dr. Hall, what does that have to do with my budget, right? Well, the budget is going to guide how you set up resources to execute your vision. So if your vision is that you want to make sure that you're improving the interview skills and the networking ability of students within your department or program, then you may want to set aside X amount of dollars to hire speakers, career coaches to come in and talk to the students about developing a professional wardrobe, or being able to talk to them about speech and dialect and how it is that they can make sure that they have a great interview the first time around to secure a second interview. And that may take money, because you may have the manpower in your department to meet certain needs, but you may want to hire outside entities to help bring that vision to light. And that's going to take money. So you need to make sure that that's written within the context of your assessment plan. Okay, so this is an example of what the assessment plan looks like, right? And so we already discussed using how this is set up. We discussed that a couple of times last semester and this semester. But for the purposes of budget, I want to show you how it should all flow together. So in this first column, of course, always goes the strategic goals from the strategic plan.
Am I supposed to be able, excuse me, Dr. Hall, am I supposed to be able to see your plan?
Oh, you can't see it on the board?
I can't see anything.
Oh, Miss,
It's
and
okay.
the whole time I've been chatting away thinking that I was sharing my screen with you. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page with you. Perfect.
Okay, and thank you for letting me know that, okay?
Okay. Am I going to get a copy of this little plan here?
You sure can. I can send it to you directly after we're finished, okay?
Perfect. Okay.
So in this first column, of course, are the goals that you've chosen, from the university's strategic plan, right? And we know the university's strategic goals are on the website. They're on our website. And so you don't, of course, have to use all 7 of those goals unless you're doing all 7 of those things. Usually about 2 or 3 of those goals that align with your program or department are sufficient. But you want to make sure that they're thoroughly explained, because all of this goes into the budget and resource implications. So let's say, again, if goal number 1 for your particular program or department is to nurture Cheney capital, then in the unit number 1, where it talks about the expected unit outcome or goal, this is where you put your specific goal that aligns with the university strategic plan. So again, if it is nurture Cheney human capital, your specific goal for under this may be to improve the job readiness skills of the students that come through career development. Okay. So that even though that's your goal, what are you doing to assess the improvement of these students, right? So in the means of unit assessment, the criteria for success, you're going to put down the things that your department did within the context of the school year to aid the job readiness of those students that come through career development. So you may have put in there career development workshops, resume workshops, and then you put maybe the number of students who came to those workshops, right? And then in the next one, when it talks about evidence of success, that is where you put down what you gained from, you know how at the end of every event that you hold, you give your students this assessment or survey that they fill out where they're asked about, what do they think were the grows, meaning the things that need to be improved, or the glows, the things that were done perfectly. That would support your evidence. And that's how we read the data that we take up, right? So you may say, evidence of success. 70% of students who enrolled in career development attended the resume skills writing workshop. Well, how do we use that to improve upon what we're doing? Well, that happens in the use of results column, right? So when you get to the use of results column, you may say, the plan is to improve the number of students who come through, the number of students who attend career development workshops by 20%. How do we plan on doing this is also in the use of results, right? So you say, we plan to use more social media to make sure that our activities are known throughout the student body. We plan to also make more community partnerships to bring certain companies to campus so students have more exposure. Well, when I get to the next column, this is where I'm going to explain how money is going to support what I'm doing, right? But I got to make sure that budget resource information is specific, okay? So let's say you say in career development, 2021 through 2022, $3,000 was spent on these various workshops. But in order to improve or in order to engage more students for the next year, we're estimating that $5,000 will be needed. This $5,000 will do A, B, C. That's really, really specific and explains how you use the past money and how you plan to use the future monies. But you can't really ask for more money if you haven't shown them how productive or purposeful or intentional you've been with the past money that you received.
So for example, like the Career Expo that we have twice a year, I raise money for that. Each employer pays at that Career Expo. Is that something that could be one of our goals to increase attendance? However, how is that worked into the budget because I'm raising the money for that?
Okay, because what happens is, you ever heard the saying that you can't be ruler over much till you become good steward over little? So you're doing what you've already done with the money that you have, right?
Right.
That gives you the ability to ask for more, to ask them for some. So this is what we've done as a department on our own through outside entities, but we request X amount of dollars from budget and we request X amount of dollars from the university so that we can upscale or upgrade the number of students who come and the services that are provided to them when they attend.
Got it.
Okay, so it's really simple, but we want to make sure that we're specific. And the problem in the past is that people have not been specific about the monies, right? So what happens is that when you're not specific, a lot of money that could be used goes to waste. You know, because that's part of the university's accountability, that we have to show how this money is being used. But it not only does it help the university, but it helps you because you're illustrating what is happening in your program or department and why and how it is you plan to upgrade, right? Or scale up. That's the word I was looking for. How you plan to scale up. Because that's the whole purpose of assessment. Assessment is going to look at what you're doing and how it can be improved. Even if it's good, how it can be made great.
Okay.
If you see some holes in it, it's not an assessment of you, but it's an assessment of what we can all do to make whatever you're trying to do better. Okay. So next one. So this is an example of what an actual budget looks like, right? Mm-hmm. Names have been changed to protect the innocent. Okay. So here, let's say that, and this is for, let me go back. This is not for Cheney, right? These are just some made up names. I got an actual budget from somewhere else and I changed the names. Okay. So let's say that academic affairs academic affairs, they put down on their assessment plan, right? How much they've used year by year. So in 2017, academic affairs used $2,800 as part of the events that they held for freshman week or for the freshman experience. In 2018, they used $530. In 2019, $250. Well, those numbers decreased significantly, right? Mm-hmm. Some might say, well, why did those numbers decrease so significantly? The numbers decreased significantly because enrollment decreased, and they decreased the number of activities that they held, also because this is also, if I'm not mistaken, during the time that the university was going through a number of budget cuts and restrictions, right? Mm-hmm. So then when we get to 2020, it's looking very much like nothing happened, right? But that's because 2020, when the budget came forth, we were in the midst of COVID, so no monies were used. All right. But when we got to 2021, the budget numbers were increased. They requested more money. They were able to do so because they had shown in the past how they allocated those funds and why they would need and what they needed to do to improve the engagement and the retention of students. So when we get to 2022, that number almost quadruples. It almost quadruples because now the students are they're fully back on campus and we're fully functional. So, and enrollment has increased, not a whole lot, but it has increased. So more money is needed to do certain things. Now, mind you, this is not a real, but it's just showing you how the money is used, right? And so you may say, well, Dr. Hall, why does it have this projected budget, right? Because remember, an assessment plan is not just about the past or the present, but it's also about the future. And that's where that continuous improvement component comes in. So I want to make sure that I'm using figures to project what I want to do in the future, because even if I don't get all that I'm asking for, I am making sure that I'm including monies to be able to execute some of the programs and the visions that my particular program or the department has for the upcoming school year. Because the job is always to scale up. So last year you had 120 students that were active in career development, right? Well, 2023, 2024 comes, you may want to double the number of students who are involved in career development. Well, that's going to take more money because you're not going to always be able to raise all the money, right? And even if you do, you should be asking for something because it's your school. You should be asking for some monies. And while you may not get all the monies that you ask for, you'll still be able to, one, show your accountability, what you've been doing, but you also would be able to get some monies which will provide assistance for your future vision. Any questions so far?
Nope.
So everything's making sense?
Yeah, I worked with, when I was doing the executive role, I worked a little bit with the budget and worked with Cynthia. So I know a little bit about it.
Okay, okay.
But a refresher is always good.
Okay. Well, I thank you. And so, so when you look at these numbers, it just shows you what each of the programs and departments at Nowhere University were using each particular school year. And as you can see, as the years go up, the numbers for what they were asking for increase. And that's because at Nowhere University, they were expecting for the enrollment to increase, which means that more monies would be needed to provide services for the students. So we want to make sure that that is illustrated, those numbers and that information is illustrated within the context of our assessment plan. So that means we've got to do more than say, well, I want to improve the number of students who comes to career development by 50%. Okay, what does money have to do with that? How have you used money in the past? Some specific numbers, right, that align with what your goals and your vision are. So lastly, when we get to when we talk about the whole order of the assessment plan, these are the 5 things that are really, really important, right? And these are your 5 takeaways. Number 1, we always want to begin with the ending in mind. We always want to begin with the ending in mind, right? Because your assessment plan is a look at the past, the present, and the future. That's what your assessment plan should do. It should look at the past, the present, and the future. The things you've done, the things you're doing, and the things that you want to do that would basically cause your vision for your department to come to life. Number 2, we want to make sure that the assessments are a part of your curriculum and they don't stand apart. They're not a separate entity. That looks different for administrative departments than it does academic departments. So for your department, assessment looks more like after every event you hold, you're making sure that students have some sort of QR code so that they can answer questions about the effectiveness of the event, right? Because that gives you a baseline of how to improve for the next thing that you're doing. Because we're always thinking about what's the next thing that we're going to be doing. And so when you provide consistent assessment, it gives you a chance to receive consistent feedback from the students that you're working with, so you can see what's working, what's not working, and how what you're already doing can be improved. I'm gonna skip to 4 because you don't have a syllabus, but I've already explained, how we can use assessment. Number 4, track your spending. Track your spending. Anticipate what your needs are going to be. Now, that doesn't mean that Cheney has, all this big money that they're going to be able to give you everything you ask for. Like if you ask for $25,000 in your next budget, that Miss Moultrie is going to be like, okay, I'll give you 27. No, right? But she may be able to give you 5 to 7,000. Well, that was better than what you had before. And it gives you more room to scale up what it is that you're trying to do, because you're doing some awesome things, right? Like even in context, when you talk about, I got a note about your clothing closet, which I have forgotten to bring the clothes for. God help me.
Give me 5 minutes.
But even with the notes about your clothing closet, right? So say for instance, if you had a budget, right? And you were, and maybe you could get some clothes dry cleaned, or get some of the suits that you received dry cleaned if you didn't receive them in a way that you could immediately give them out to students. Or maybe you could, let's say for instance, you got a lot of clothes from different people that the students could use for developing a professional wardrobe, but maybe you didn't get shoes. So maybe you could allocate some of these funds to purchase professional footwear for the students. Whatever it is that you see fit to do, as long as it helps you to improve upon what you're already doing. And so lastly, another thing about this is when you're tracking your spending, it also helps you to project into the future so that you avoid some unseen costs, right? Because what if all of a sudden one of the students has an awesome idea for some sort of career development program they would like to execute, and maybe you need money for it, right? Well, if you have some cushion within your budget, you may be able to help that student bring that vision to life if it's going to be beneficial for your program or department. Or maybe it is, you did some fundraising and there was a shortfall within that budget where you didn't get all the money that you needed from these entities that you were raising funds to. Well, if you have some cushion in your budget, you could fill in the gap for where the shortfall is. So lastly, we have to remember that the data is crucial for shaping the future of your program or your department. The data is crucial, right? Because number one, it shows accountability for the university when each of us are illustrating what it is that we're doing. But number two, it shows how effective your department is, right? So it gives your department accountability in that people don't always have to come to you and say, well, Irma, what is your department doing? It's already on paper. It's already been outlined, right? And then when there are extra monies, when people are like, if your assessment plan has all this information, let's say that the president or whatever entity has seen how effective your assessment plan is and all the great things you've been doing because they've been outlined on your assessment plan, and you've been very, very specific and intentional about aligning them with the strategic goals. What's to say that he won't say, well, we got $20,000 in grant money. I think that Irma and her department should receive about $3,000 or $4,000 of that extra money because they've been doing some really, really great things, and we want to make sure that we give them some of this grant money so that they can continue in that direction. So it really helps all entities involved. Any questions?
No, obviously I need to be, I'm doing so much over here and I haven't been capturing the data properly. So, that's an area that I need to work with Ronika on so that moving forward, we can really put on paper and outline what, we have been doing because there's so much going on over here. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm glad that now we have you here so you can assist me in this area because it's not one of my strong points, but it will be.
And I don't want you, and let me say this to you, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. Don't get overwhelmed by it, right? Because it really is simple. All that you're doing is, and even if you have to shoot me an email and say, Dr. Hall, we're getting ready to have Career Expo again. Can you help me with a quick assessment, right?
Right.
No problem. And it's a matter of make sure that the students, before they leave that Career Expo, that they scan that QR code and fill out the assessment survey, right? And what happens is is now you got the data you need to see how effective how effective your activity was, and are you really improving upon what you set out to do in your assessment plan.
Okay.
And that means you got to read the data. So if 70% of the students said that 70% of the students who attended said that that the Career Expo was awesome, but they wish that there would have been more companies who were devoted to STEM, then now what happens is, you know, oh, when next time we have a Career Expo, we need to invite more companies that work with STEM students. Right? Mm-hmm. We need to increase the number of companies, and you could put a number on there, right? And it doesn't have to be a big number that you can't reach. It could be something small as we want to improve that by 15%. Let's, for instance, you have 200 students that have enrolled in career development, but only about 60% of those students are consistently coming to the events. That gives you a growth. Then you say, in order to because on the segment, let me go back. So when it says evidence and use of results, so if your evidence is only 60% of the students enrolled in career development have been consistently attending career development events, well, how are we going to improve on that? That's where the use of results or improvement comes. So we want to improve the number of students who are consistently involved in career development by 20%. Thus, the number of students would be 80% of students who are enrolled in career development. We plan to do that by more social media interaction, and that's what you put budget and resource allocations, right? More money should be allotted to boost posts on social media, because social media is usually the medium through which our students interact, and it would give them the opportunity to see the events as opposed to just posting them in Cheney Hub.
Mm-hmm. It said Cheney Hood. Did you see that on the bottom? That's
oh my goodness. Cheney Hub, okay, Hub, H-U-B, okay.
No, it's funny. I never saw that you can record yourself, like what you're saying at the bottom. That is so cool.
Yeah, it asked me that, for inclusive purposes. And I said, you know what, that's good, because sometimes I can be hard of hearing, and I don't want to keep asking people, hey, say that again. I'm putting it in the chat. Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is good. If I could get, I guess after our session today, if you can email me that, because then I can write it all out.
Okay.
With Ronika, so make sure that I'm on the same page. I know an area that she wants one of our goals that she wants us to work on is getting our kids ready for grad school and what that looks like. I know we have an increase since I've started here, 2019. However, I want to really start tracking it moving forward.
And if you want, I would be elated to help you with that.
Oh,
because the other half of my title is continuous improvement.
That's awesome.
That would be a continuous improvement thing.
Right.
So if you need any help and I'm available, I'd love to help.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. Something that I have interns this summer, one of the projects that they have is researching grad schools within Philadelphia area, not only past